Sorry.
Hi everyone, Archana here from the Reading Room.
Hi, this is Gayatri.
And we are back with our 3 books of the week, maybe. It's not something we've been able to do every week, but yeah, here we are. So, what we usually bring to you is a book that I have read in the last week or two, a book that Gayatri has read, and one book that both of us have read and how we felt about it, which could either be the exact same thing or polar opposites.
Yeah.
Which is a book you want to talk about?
So I wanted to talk about a trilogy this time. I picked up this very interesting looking YA mystery series called Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson.
Okay.
So really interesting premise. The story is about a girl who goes to a high school that considers an alternative form of education.
Alright.
So there's very few students who are admitted to this academy called the Ellingham Academy. And it's very prestigious because they ask you to send in what you're passionate about. You're asked to write a small essay about what you're passionate about, and based on your interests, if you get selected, they hire tutors to teach you about the subject.
Oh, sounds interesting.
Yes, and there's a murder mystery that's been at Ellingham Academy which no one has solved. And our main character, Stevie, is someone who's trying to solve this mystery. So she gets into the academy, and the 3 books are about her uncovering the mystery, going through her own high school experience and everything. Very interesting premise again, but the book was a little draggy.
So it is a coming of age book. I love the angle that you spoke about the alternative education thing. I mean, that sounds like something we surely should try to do. And a murder mystery, and yet it dragged. So what do you feel drag? Is it the language? Is it the way it was written? Or is it just the story itself?
So personally I feel like the author had a lot of good ideas, right? I mean, there's a lot of narratives that come into this, and you have a very diverse set of characters. There's so much representation in the book, and there's so much talk about even current political scenarios, but I feel like it could have been completed within one book.
Okay, so you think because it was a trilogy, it feels like it's being dragged out?
Yes, because I had to push myself through almost 300 pages of each book just to figure out what happens in the end, and I felt like she could have just put it into one book and it would have been beautifully done.
Okay. Did the characters stick with you? Did you like the characters?
I had a slight issue with the main protagonist because, again, Stevie is a very interesting character. She's someone who's very passionate about true crime. But she also does play the character of a very ditzy, typical main female lead, where she suddenly says stuff like she doesn't feel very conscious of her body until a guy looks at her, and then she goes, "Oh, is there something interesting about me?"
Okay.
Which I don't feel is very representative of a teenage girl experience. No one really forgets what they look like. A lot of times we do consciously think about it a lot.
Alright. So this is a little confusing. On the one hand, everything you're saying about the book sounds so exciting, and then you think, but I didn't. So I'm trying to figure out what about it put off all the good things, Is it just that it dragged? Is that
the drag was the main part, and secondly, the main character occasionally saying things that sounded very annoying to me. But it could be that I'm growing out of a young adult phase too, so I don't enjoy those characters anymore.
Do you think you are actually leaving young adult fantasy behind finally?
I think I am, very sadly.
Because I see every conversation we have, I see you saying, I don't know why I didn't enjoy it. It had all the elements that I should ideally enjoy. So do you think that's finally happening?
Yeah, I do think that's happening. I think I'm slowly leaving young adult books behind. What about you, Ash? What book were you reading?
The book that I want to talk about now is called What We Talk About When We Talk About Rape. It's by Sohaila Abdulali. That's the book, guys. It's everything the name suggests and a lot more. So it's all sorts of trigger warnings. She is a survivor, and she's somebody who luckily had all the right systems in her family supporting her. Her friends and her family were there, and she's done. It's like reading the best thesis paper you can read on the topic. It's objective, it's straightforward. She herself, being a survivor, has spoken about the emotional weight, but objectively. There is a certain lack of drama in the book that makes you sit up and take notice, no matter how much you have sat up and taken notice of the topic till date.
Alright.
So it's the way it's written, it's the way it's dealt with. It is about what we talk about when we talk about rape. It is also about what we don't talk about and should ideally be talking about when we talk about rape. And I don't know, it's something that stayed with me. It's a book, I have a hard copy of my own that I have,
Yeah.
put tags on, and it's something that I'll keep. So usually what I do when I read is I tag them, and then
Yeah.
I note down the bits that stayed with me in my journal, and then note down about what I felt. But I've not been able to do that with this book.
Yeah.
I read the last page, there are about 50-60 odd tags, and they're just sitting there.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the book.
That seems like a very interesting premise, but I think the one thing that constantly comes to mind anytime I pick up a book that's about very serious issues like this is there's a certain sense of desensitization for me now. I think especially because news media is constantly throwing it at you, I feel very desensitized at this point, which sounds very wrong, I know.
No, it's correct, and I think that is exactly why the title reads "What We Talk About When We Talk About Rape." She's spoken about the desensitization. She's spoken about the angles at which she's approached it. How
Yeah.
sensationalization is more important, how the taboo is more important, how even the law there is some sort of a mean enjoyment, right? Which always seems to be revolving around a topic like this.
It does.
So she's actually addressing that exact thing, and small aspects that she said. For example, how every single rape victim has been faced with a situation where she's been asked to again and again and again justify that it was rape, and that her intention was right or wrong.
Yes.
And then she stops to ask, what about the man's intention? Why do we care about her intention? Why is the entire focus not on his intention of forcing and not asking and waiting? There are these aspects which deep inside we've all spoken about it, but the way it's been mentioned, and it just comes at you.
It's presented in a very solid manner.
Very
but
objective
there are
manner
fascinating
where
objective
she's
ways.
just put this, and there's nothing to say. There are no arguments there, and there shouldn't be. And the
Exactly.
argument is not if it happened or not. What led it to happen? What were you wearing? Why were you there? Did you give him a
The
signal that it
questioning
was
always
okay?
revolves around
What
the
did
survivor.
you do to call it onto you? Which is so horrendous. So yeah.
I mean, considering that we live in a very progressive world, this is something that I've always felt very upset about. One question I have about the book is, a lot of times, especially in the current day, anytime a rape survivor comes forward, I see a lot of people coming forward with, but can we blindly believe them? So, has she spoken about that aspect? About
Okay, she
people
spoke-
talking about false accusations
So
and
she
stuff.
was raped in her teen years when she was visiting India. She didn't grow up in India.
Okay.
She was out and yeah, she was dragged to a point and her only aspect at that point was her and her companion don't die. And she also speaks about how the evening went and what she did and how she dealt with the situation, wherein she was like, I just wanted to come out of it alive, right? And then she spoke about it. She went out there when she came back and when she told her parents and everything, and she actually wrote about it. And there was a whole news article about it. There were people talking to her, and she was somebody who had actually spoken about it. And then it is also about how years later she came around to write this book.
Ah.
And she mentions everything else that happened in between. She mentions the Delhi incident. So she has taken extracts from different victims from across the world, across age barriers, across financial backgrounds, and she doesn't spell it out. She doesn't say, hey, look, I am giving you a sample set.
Yeah.
She's just talking about, okay, this person, when I was talking to her, told me this happened, and that person told me this is what she felt, and that person told me this is what she did to try and avoid it. And it hits you that, guys, honestly, it happens all over the world to women of all ages at every given circumstance possible, and yet we try to blame the victim. That's a silent message there. And so she's somebody who's gone through it, spoken about it, then spoken about it again, then spoken about it and written a book, then researched, then worked in the field. She works with women, she works with women who work with women who have gone through rape. So she's basically researched, and she knows, and that shows. I mean, I can't say a lot about the book. I can't, but when you read it, you know where it's coming
It
from.
sounds very impactful.
It is very impactful.
Because
there is a terminology there that she's given. So I don't want to give away a lot of things, because when I was reading it and the way these things jumped out of me and made me go, oh wow. Because like I said, none of this is news to us. Unfortunately, us growing up and living in this country, none of it is news to us. But it still makes you sit up and think, whoa, like that's a solid angle. I might take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to explain this to a person who doesn't seem to understand, but that one strong sentence or that one strong terminology she's used to say it, that jumps out at you. This is a book that when I reviewed, one sentence I wrote was, everybody should read it. If you're a survivor, if you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're a child, if you're above 15, 16 and growing up in any country on any planet, you should read it. It is necessary. If you're a parent of a survivor, if you're a friend of a survivor, we all are one of those. There's hardly any person who doesn't know somebody, right? We all need to read the book. It is the most objective approach that the topic has ever had, I feel. See, the objective is the word I'll keep coming back to, because we either read extremely sensationalized versions, or we read extremely sanitized versions where people are trying to, and she addresses that, where people are trying to, by separating themselves from the horrendousness of what happened, they keep making a sanitized version of what happened to them every time they tell the story, till they have finally reached a point where it's just a clean capsule and there are no horrendous mentions. Yeah, so to lighten the mood, the third book that both of us have read and we wanted to talk about is called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Eliasson. Yeah, Benjamin Eliasson. Sorry, his name is a little complicated, but we'll put it up in the picture. It is a coming of age book about actually the story of one boy, particularly Aristotle, Ari, as he's called in the book, and his best friend Dante. And it deals with coming of age, it deals with discovering your own sexuality, how Ari is only realizing that he feels more for Dante than friendship, and how he deals with that feeling. It's
also growing up in an immigrant family, right?
Yes, growing up in an immigrant family in America. There's also growing up, there's bullying, and there's some great parenting in there, I think.
There's some amazing
parenting in there. So yeah, it is a book, I liked reading it. I felt like it, for a change, dealt with these topics in a very fun, light way. Like we've been mentioning in the last video also, a lot of the books that are dealing with, especially dealing with coming of age and sexuality these days, are making the whole book heavy with just that one aspect.
It's very one-dimensional usually in a book when it comes to something like sexuality or just general coming of age suddenly turns to becoming all about emotions. If someone's a survivor, it becomes all about that. It focuses on just one aspect, right? But Aristotle and Dante was very fleshed out as a book.
Very fleshed out. It dealt with everything, it dealt with their interests in hobbies, in art, in reading, in playing, and driving, and there's just everything that should be there in a young boy's life. Interests, and making money, going off for the odd job, and so it really was flushed out. That's the right word. Why we said great parenting is because it is quite refreshing to read a young adult book where the boy is coming out and finding his sexuality and not being addressed with shock. Sometimes we need books that just tell people, hey, you can do this also. This is a good approach, instead of going the other side, showing the negative.
And we're seeing parents who see change, right? They themselves discover that, okay, maybe I would be a slightly better parent if I make a shift in how I think. It isn't very aggressive like they show in most movies or books where the parent suddenly goes, whoa, okay, this cannot happen, and they take a very aggressive stance. Then the protagonist has to wear them down. There's nothing of that sort. This felt very natural. It was a very natural progression. And my issue was that I felt like it ended up being wrapped and parceled too neatly at the end.
Yeah, it is a happy book. So everything actually does get sorted out very, very happily, very, very nicely. In the sense, even when things may or may not work out for the characters, but finally everything is nice and tidy. So Gayatri felt it was a little too sanitized and clean, which I have to agree with, but somehow it didn't bother me. So
It's a refreshing read, you guys. I mean, when I was reading it, because I saw that there were so many different topics that were being dealt with, right? I couldn't wrap my head around the idea of all of these things being resolved.
true, I agree. I know that. I have felt that feeling with another book that I read recently, where everything got just resolved too neatly. Having said that, somehow I felt like this book did that nicely, you know,
It
because
did it in a very nice way.
the tone was always positive.
And there's a lot of hope in this.
Yes.
It's a very hopeful book. And I sometimes, like even now when I'm thinking back to the book, I really wish the world were more like that.
True, you do. You end up feeling like only if the world was more like this. There are violent moments, there are sad moments, and you know, one thing I loved is this whole brooding that young men seem to do at a certain stage, and how
Yes.
that has been dealt with very nicely. You know, yeah, you know, some people are brooders, and yeah, overall, it's a book I would recommend if you're looking for a light read in this genre, which deals with all the important things but deals with it lightly and happily, but sensitively. Then it's a book I would recommend. It's called Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Yeah. So that's it. Hopefully, we would be able to meet again and make another video very soon. Because every time we tend to do this, there's a month-long lockdown in between.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank
See
you
you again
guys.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.